Hello, everyone. My name is Brooke Becker, and I am a dual degree pharmacy and Master of Public Health student from UAMS. I appreciate your attention and hope that I can shed some light onto the sometimes confusing topic of GMOs. Following completion of this discussion, I hope you will be able to do all of these things with fellow members of the community in order to spread information about GMOs. These objectives are to be able to teach someone what GMOs are and how they are used within our agriculture, to be able to explain to others why there is currently so many issues surrounding the topic of GMOs, to discuss the pros and cons of when GMOs are used, and finally, to be able to explain what a GMO label looks like and what is on each label. You may see labels like these all over your grocery store or on TV, but what exactly is a GMO? Well, GMO stands for genetically modified organism. These words can be individually broken down to further explain what exactly they are. Genes are what everything is made up of. They are the chemicals that determine how something is made. The word modify means to change something. A synonym for modify could be adjust, alter, or adapt. For GMOs, organism typically refers to crops, but the word organism refers to all living things. Combining these definitions, we can come up with a single definition for GMOs. They are living things which have had their chemical makeup changed. Typically, GMOs are used on plant-based crops. These can include potatoes, corn, or other farm-grown foods. GMOs are also used in other locations, however, such as in certain animals to make them grow faster. With all these possible locations, it would be very difficult for one group of people to watch over GMOs. That's why different agencies, including the Food and Drug Administration and the Environmental Protection Agency, regulate how GMOs are produced and how they are used. It is possible that you may have heard a lot of arguments or seen some protests on TV about GMOs. The fear that surrounds GMOs typically is produced by a lack of information on GMOs. That is why I am here today, so that I can hopefully relieve some of your anxiety and teach you more about GMOs. It has been found through research that those who have studied GMOs and have an increased knowledge of what they are and how they are used typically are less concerned about GMOs than an ordinary member of the public is. GMOs have been used in different areas for decades, but recently there has been an increase in the amount of GMOs used. This is due to their use within crops. As the use has increased, more people have learned that they are being used, but not necessarily what they are. This further increases the fear of GMOs from the public. In order to eliminate or rationalize this fear, it is important for more information be gathered by members of the public such as yourself and then be spread to more people such as your friends, families, and neighbors. Several studies have been conducted in order to determine the safety and efficacy of using GMOs in our food. The general consensus from a majority of these studies is that GMOs are not only beneficial in many ways, but they are safe for consumption as well. Some of the known benefits for specific crops utilizing GMOs are actually incredible. These include tomatoes that can resist freezing and frost in the winter, as well as potatoes and apples that do not bruise or brown. A comparison of GMO to non-GMO foods showed that GMOs produce foods that typically taste better, are more nutritious, and are more resistant to disease, insects, and other issues in growth. Along with their benefits, several organizations have tested the safety of GMOs. These groups found that the GMOs were as safe to consume as eating any other piece of food. You may be saying these GMOs taste better, are better for you, and are easier to grow, so what's the catch? Why do so many people want to stop the use of them in our food? These issues arise from the fears of potential effects and unknown possibilities. Some researchers believe that it may not only be possible but likely that genes could be transferred through the consumptions of GMOs, leading to unintended reactions. These could be allergies to food that people were not previously allergic to or other unintended events. It is also currently unknown what kind of impact GMOs have on the surrounding farming land and crop. Soil that previously needed pesticides is no longer using it, which can lead to a change in the structure of the soil. Currently, there is no strong evidence showing extreme changes to farming soil or surrounding crops directly due to GMOs. The major impact of GMOs that has been shown is financially. GMOs are costly to produce and require special instruments in order to grow. This means that small, low-income farmers cannot easily produce these like large corporation farms. This hurts small farmers as the market becomes owned only by those who have enough money to afford the production of GMOs. Many farmers are currently in debt, and many more farmers are starting to slip into debt by being forced to use GMOs to try to keep up with the market. With all these conflicting reports, it may be tough to take a side. Thankfully, there have been a few reviews of studies involving GMOs. One applicable review evaluated multiple studies of different individual GMO products. These products included peas, rice, soybeans, maize, and cotton, among others. Through research, neither the benefits nor the risks were adequately determined. There were nutritional changes and there were risk changes, but the researchers were not able to show that they were caused solely because of the GMOs. It does appear, however, that allergic reactions may be of greater concern for products that contain GMOs. The review also found that it may not matter if you want GMOs in your food or not, because it is often difficult to follow GMOs through the food production process, and many foods may contain GMOs without knowing it. It appears that the only thing that is certain about GMOs is that even those who spend time looking into them are still uncertain. One major dispute of those who do not want GMOs in their food is how these foods are labeled. The FDA currently does not require GMO labeling unless the GMO product is significantly different from its non-GMO counterpart. This means that for the most part, labeling GMO or GMO-free is considered to be voluntary as it pertains to the FDA. In 2016, however, there was a bill passed in the United States that required more labeling for GMO products. This bill required one of three components be placed on a GMO product. These components were either a QR code, a website or phone number, or a brief statement saying that GMOs were contained in the product. This bill did not satisfy many, as they believed that it was not adequate enough to warn that GMOs are present within a product. When the bill was passed, the USDA was also tasked with developing a standard for GMO labeling. This has led to a preliminary release of potential GMO labeling. These labels have seen some backlash, however, because those opposed to GMOs feel that the labels are too bright and some have the image of a smile on them. A further complaint is that rather than saying they are produced with GMOs, the label only has the initials BE. I have yet to say during this speech what BE even stands for, because it is not a common term used in the public. It stands for bioengineered, which is just another term for genetically modified. It is believed that the USDA may have created the logo like this in order to avoid the use of the term GMO. In summary, GMOs are genetically modified organisms, meaning they are living things which have had their makeup changed in order to benefit the end product. The intention of GMOs is to produce crops which taste better, are more nutritious for the consumer, and are easier to grow due to resistance to weather, insects, and disease. Many people feel anxious about GMOs because there is an increasing use of GMOs, but evidence for safety and efficacy is still lacking. Many organizations do, however, endorse GMOs, saying that they are as safe as eating traditional foods. Currently, the FDA has no standard for how they believe GMO products should be labeled, but the USDA is developing a standardized labeling procedure. Their potential labels have faced some criticism, however, and is a work in progress. In my opinion, if you want to feel safe consuming GMOs, you should continue to do as much research as possible. Listening to this talk was a great first step, but there is even more learning that is possible out there. I have attached my references and invite you to read into them in order to gather more information. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope it was informative, and feel free to contact me with any questions you have about the pros and cons of GMOs and their labeling. Thank you again.